Hi, I'm Nicola.
And I'm Julia.
And we're the project leaders from YMCA Malta on the My Voice to Europe project.
My Voice to Europe is an Erasmus Plus project co-funded by the European Union that is being administered through the European Union Programmes Agency.
My Voice to Europe has brought together a group of young people to share their thoughts, ideas, and research on topics that they deemed important for the Maltese Islands.
These young people have developed 13 important themes and produced 13 podcasts with stakeholders, young people, and professionals related to the theme.
Keep watching and engage with the discussion in the comments.
First of all, I'd like to welcome you both and thank you for accepting this invitation. Like Julia said, my name is Matthew, and you've been invited here to discuss the topic, what is the value of youths, and whether or not there is the right investment being made towards what this value of youths which we give is. So I'll be asking you a couple of questions and we'll start a conversation on it. So first of all, I'd just like to ask for a brief introduction of yourselves. I think we can start with Aimee.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Aimee. I'm a youth worker with a youth work NGO called Generation Change. We mainly focus on project-based learning activities and we work with all young people. We're a very inclusive youth work organization. Happy to be here.
Okay.
So I am Stephanie. I'm also a youth worker. I've been involved in youth organizations since 2001, so that makes it a lot of years. But first I started voluntary, but then I showed interest to study more about youth and community work. And now I'm a mature youth worker. I've mainly been involved in community youth work. So my specific area of not expertise, but what I love doing mainly is detached youth work, based in public spaces and localities where young people encounter and in their own free time.
Okay. And a follow-up question, why do you believe that this topic is important? I mean, why accept this invitation? Sort of clearly this topic is an important one. So what value does it have to both of you?
Okay, you go, Aimee.
I mean, as a youth worker, youth are at the heart of of what we do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And I mean, when we're talking about the value of the young people, we often hear the age-old saying, sort of, youth are the backbone to our society. They play a lot in all aspects of our society. But having said that, I don't think that they are as valued as they should be. They often don't get the recognition they deserve or the platform that they should have to have their opinions sort of listened to on a local level, but also on a wider level. So for me to be here today, you know, as one voice that's supporting them, then I'm happy to be here. And if it reaches more young people and encourages them to speak out or helps communities sort of understand and reach out to the young people, then all the better for it.
If I build on also what Aimee said, we tend to say also the future of the society, but I also like to include that young people are the present also of the society, because it's important that they are part of what we do today. Sometimes, no, they are not valued that much. I also like to explain young people as a mine of surprises, because they always gives us new initiatives, new ideas how to, even us as youth workers, I learn from youth themselves, because I don't know everything. So young people, yes, they provide us different learning experiences when we encounter them. Unfortunately, they have a lot of value, but unfortunately, social media doesn't, and online media does not reflect all this. Because even if you go through any portals, when something happens, for example, we had some rifts in Valletta where young people were ganging up and fighting together. I mean, this has been something that has been gone through even when I was a teenager myself. So it's not something that we need to acclaim a lot in the media, but unfortunately, the media doesn't explain how young people are involved in many voluntary organizations, for example. But then something like this, an episode like this, is portrayed throughout all the online portals, and young people then are seen in a bad perspective. So yes, there are lots of value, but we ourselves as a society don't appreciate all that value.
Okay, and speaking of the value of a youth, how would you both define the value of youths today, especially in Malta? Aimee?
Mhm. I think they're underrated. They're not given the credit they deserve. But as we've said, they are essentially invaluable to society, for want of a better word. But as we've been saying, sort of, we say they're invaluable. I think there's this big pressure, especially on young people, to fix society's problems. So we put this big value on them for that, as Stephanie was saying, we say that they're our present, our future, that they need to fix these things. So there's this big value on them for that. But linking with what Stephanie was saying, then we see that something happens like the incidents in Valletta, and all of the discourse is, they're troublemakers, they can't understand what's going on. So there's these two clashing values. So I think it's very much a confused idea when we're looking to define young people in Malta, but I think everywhere, because I think everywhere there's this clash of discourse.
Also, I think since this podcast will be also part of the MP run-up, I think it's important also to consider the value of youth, whether it is actually valued. Since this year we will be having the first time that 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds that can vote for the European Parliament elections. So yes, it is something that we need to consider. Are they actually being used as a political scenario, or are we actually trying to involve them in the decision-making process? So that would be a good topic for just a podcast alone. I am also involved myself into politics, both with a large P and with a small p, and it's important that young people are not just valued for their vote, but also for their input, for their ideas. So yes, it's not just for the election, but also throughout the process of the 5 years of the legislature. So yes, it's a good perspective that we should think about also from a political scenario.
Okay. And any sort of investments that are being made into the development of youths, do you believe that it's proportional to the value which we give youths?
Okay,
Yeah. Do you want to go, Stephanie? Or?
No, it's okay. We're taking turns.
I would say no, it's not proportional. I mean, investments are being made. Again, it depends sort of how cynical or optimistic you want to be, how the investment is being made and the purpose of it. But if you look at where they're being made and who is being reached, there are a lot of young people who are not being reached by these investments. Certain young people benefit more than others, and that's an issue, because again, if we're looking at this imbalance in society where some are benefiting more than others, it's great that we have young people who can benefit. Of course, when young people are benefiting, it's always a good thing. But we need to make sure that everybody is getting an equal or just chance to benefit. And speaking from my experience in my organization, we work a lot with foreign young people as well. And from a perspective here, there's a lot of foreign young people who are not being accounted for with the investments. So it's something to consider also, because it's a new reality again in Malta, but everywhere. So.
And you mentioned that some youths are being left out. What sort of youths would you say are being left out of these investments?
I mean, I would say it's often those that aren't already, if they don't form part of an organization already, you know, they don't have their community, or they don't have their connection somewhere, because a lot of the investments being made, one, you have to know about them, sort of to be following the right circles, or to have access to that information, which I think a lot of young people don't have. And it's, again, good or bad, sort of once you know about these things, you know, obviously then you keep an eye out and you know for the future. But if you're not being made aware of them, then year on year, nothing's going to change. So again, we're looking at those young people from, let's say, less, I don't want to say less privileged backgrounds, but, you know, those that don't have so much accessibility, maybe.
Okay.
Okay, if it's a good point, and sometimes, yes, we tend to think that all young people are involved in a youth organization or any other organization, and it's very important to keep in mind that most risk exposed young people obviously are not part of such. I mentioned it edged in my introduction, and that is where I noticed that many young people are not actually involved. They like meeting up, socializing with their friends in public spaces, in skate parks, in gardens, in piazzas, in the localities. And it's very important that us as youth workers, that we need to deliver the message, what opportunities they can invest in. Obviously, sometimes Aimee knows also, even if to go into a project, to apply for a project, it's not easy. I mean, it's not something that some young people have to be trained sort of to apply for such schemes. But yes, it's very important. For example, I know Generation Change are at a youth exchange right now at the moment, right, Aimee?
Yes, yes.
Because I followed your Facebook page. So it's very important as us as youth workers to try to involve always new young people to explore these opportunities. Because sometimes you find socially and economically underprivileged young people that are afraid to take part in these projects because, for example, lack of funds. Yes, it's very important that the investment is there, but we need to address it more to young people, widening the opportunities as much as possible.
Okay. And having experience in youth work, could you give me some examples of some of these opportunities for young people?
You go, Aimee.
I mean, the list is, there is a long list if you look at it, which is the great thing, and every year more are coming out, which is wonderful. I mean, there are opportunities on a local level, and these are increasing, which I'm happy to see. And again, it's depends on the interest as well, and finding those young people that are showing interest in that. There's extracurriculars and sort of music groups, which is becoming more and more popular. I'm happy to see. Again, there's opportunities for youth groups. As Stephanie said, we, as Generation Change, we run a youth group weekly. And then there's also the European level, which those young people that find out about it, usually they're the most excited, but they also see it as the most unattainable because it seems like such a big thing. As we said, we have a group on a youth exchange at the moment. They're in Finland. It's very cold. But there's youth exchanges. I mean, as long as you're sort of 13 years upwards, the sky is the limit. But we have a lot of young people who, even if they know about these opportunities, they don't think it's for them. They sort of say to themselves, how can I apply for that? I have school, I have this, I have family obligations. So it's working through those barriers as well, because a lot of the young people who it would benefit more, they don't see themselves as able often to take part in these things. So it's working with them towards these things as well. There's also projects, longer term projects, where young people can go away for up to a year with the European Solidarity Corps, which is amazing. I took part in it myself when I was younger. And you can go and be in a whole other community and really explore your sense of self. But again, linking back to that, sometimes people are so frightened or stuck that they don't think that they can do these things. So it's quite sad as a youth worker that you know these opportunities are out there and you can get the word out and speak to young people, and obviously it is a process. But yes, it's working with them to let them know that they can do these things. They have to just take the leap.
And as Aimee said, we have barriers apart from the financial perspective that I mentioned. There's also the education and sometimes even the parents. For example, right now we are on the search on the lookout for a youth exchange. We have approved for next summer for 16-year-olds to 18 years old. I mean, in Italy. And the parents, when I am mentioning these opportunities, no, don't take them away from Malta. No, because I'm afraid they would stay there. I mean, these are the opportunities that help them enhance their learning experiences. And like Aimee said, extracurricular. I prefer seeing a CV of a young person that has been involved in an Erasmus project rather than sometimes an exam or some exams, because I fully believe in the potential of these intercultural experiences. Also, we are finding a barrier through the education, like I said. For example, if we have a youth exchange during the school periods, the schools are not allowing the students to participate because they are going to miss the lectures or sessions. Sometimes we even find it in post-secondary and university level. So it's like, as youth workers, we are fighting the, I don't know how you call it, it's difficult to explain. I mean, they are not appreciating these opportunities the young people can have, and they don't allow them the absence from sessions. So yes, we do have a lot of things to do yet, even though there are the opportunities, unfortunately.
So these opportunities, the current investment that's being done into them, is it enough for youths to reach their full potential with their skills and talents, or are there other barriers, perhaps, as you mentioned, financial, or maybe even a question of awareness, or finding barriers with parents allowing the youths to take part, maybe for youths on the younger end?
I don't think it's enough. I think there can always be more, always. And just from what I've witnessed as well, speaking from my perspective as a youth worker, my concern is also that as the the investments increase, because we're saying, great, you know, another opportunity where young people can benefit. Wonderful, that's great. And sort of on the surface, everyone's happy. My concern is, if we keep going towards this, okay, there's another investment, but there's another target to reach. You know, there's another box to tick. I don't want to lose the impact that it can have on the young person through the process of the opportunity, whether it's a youth exchange, whether it's a funded project, whether it's them going abroad by themselves. I don't want to lose that, the impact on them in the process, just because people are saying we need to tick a box. And to tick a box, you know, we have to choose that young person or do that or reach that number of young people. So the point of the investment is then sort of being missed, just to say that, you know, we're giving these opportunities, because that, for me, you're not thinking of the young people then, you're thinking just to tick a box to look good, you know, to the wider community, to on a more European scale. I don't know.
And I think also a good investment is promoting more youth work, because many people do not understand what is our role, what is our task. In fact, I don't know, Aimee, if you ever encountered, so what is your work? What do you actually do? Are you a social worker? So yes, I mean, more youth workers and more education and promotion of our profession is very important. Moreover, to reach more young people, to grab opportunities, and obviously it's a ripple effect. If we have more youth workers, more investment would come. I mean, that's my opinion. And I think young people now are understanding actually what are youth workers, but the older generations perhaps need to appreciate more our role as youth workers.
From the sound of things, it seems that the largest barrier right now is mainly the promotion and awareness of what these opportunities are to youths. Okay, so moving on to more work and job related questions. Are current job opportunities and career paths that are available to youths a reflection of their current skill or potential? Aimee, if you would like to start.
I've seen different educational paths in different countries, and one thing that always strikes me in Malta, from my observations and from the work that I do, there is such an emphasis on the academic career path, which is, it's needed, of course, there's no dispute to that. But there needs to be more, because we are limiting so many young people by only having this path to employment, to life, you know, because let's be honest, if we're looking at education, there's formal education, there's non-formal education, and there needs to be much more of a balance with these if we want to see really young people reaching their fullest potential in life, because a lot of young people who have so much to give just are not being given that opportunity, or are being seen in, I don't know, the wrong light, simply because the system that we have does not fit them and their needs.
You're both younger than me, so I recall when I used to be during my secondary years, we had opportunities to continue in trade. Like Aimee said, we are focusing a lot on the academic aspect, and that you have to get your O levels, A levels. And now even if just a degree is not enough, everyone is going more and getting the masters, but we're ignoring those aspects that are very much needed in trade. For example, plastering, tiling, gypsum making. There are some young people that are keen on these things, on these professions, you can sort of call them also. and they are not destined to continue academically. Give them tools and they'll do a magnificent job, but then academically they are not, the perfect candidates. So yes, I am all in favor that more investment needs to be done. For example, if you take MCAST, which many people think it's preparing you for such trades, but still academically you have to be good and pass exams, writing exams, to get actually a certificate or a diploma in those areas. So yes, I think Malta, it's too much. And for one, I am very much in favor in study gaps. For example, I like to promote the voluntary service in other EU countries after the post-secondary, before starting the university courses, because I believe that these experiences will help the young person to actually recognize and acknowledge what he or she wants to do in their future years. But again, parents always emphasize no, because if they go, they would not continue studying. So yes, those are the barriers that I mentioned before, and it's important that we try to challenge them all the time.
Yeah. And just to extend as well, what I'm seeing also is that often is the case, a lot of young people who, even those who are more academically inclined, they're graduating, getting jobs, which is wonderful. But once they then get into the workforce, they're realizing that the workforce is not studying, the workforce is not remembering and passing an exam. And it becomes a real struggle for them. And with so much going on in life, mental health issues on the rise, it's a disservice to them, that we're not preparing them better, not just for the workforce, because that's one part of society. We always say young people, let's prepare them for the workforce. No, let's prepare them for life, and the workforce will benefit as a part of that. And we're doing them a disservice by not preparing them better, I think.
And also, being an island, I think we have an amount of insularity. So we're just confined to our little island, and that's it. In fact, I see a lot of difference, even when comparing Maltese young people to Gozitan young people. I mean, we're sister islands, but still, the independence, the attitude Gozitan young people have when even it's related to study, work, etc., and opportunities are more independent, sort of, because even for studying or for working, they have to travel all the time. And when comparing it to European, mainland Europe young people, you can see this difference. It's a lot. For us to travel, we have to go everywhere by plane. So even this option of traveling outside of Malta is a challenge. And even for work opportunities, this reflects a lot. We always want to be comfortable in our sort of niche, in our comfortable area, and we need to be more liberal, sort of, and try to enhance that it's not just Malta. There's a whole world around us. But yes, being an island affects a lot on these opinions.
Okay, so saying that it's, evident that in Malta, especially, our education system is very heavily academically oriented. We all know this sort of growing up, doing the O levels, the A levels, getting your bachelor's degree, getting your master's. Perhaps there is a way we can better align the educational system so that it could ensure that youths, perhaps that you were mentioning, such as trades which are being lost, such as tilers and so on, so that they can be more well prepared and integrate better with the current workforce that exists.
Yep, exactly. It's very important because all trades are needed, are required. And sometimes I think it's good to see also statistically what are the young people going for academically, because we are seeing also a low workforce of young people. I mean, for example, nursing has been a profession that has been seeing also a decline. Even teachers, even educational like LSCs, etc. So yes, we would need to see whether those young people that are not continuing their academic road, sort of, where are they going? Where are they leading to work? Yep, it's important to address these issues.
Do you have anything to add to that, Aimee?
Yeah, I think just looking at the educational system, we need to encourage critical thinking and collaboration and independence. I see a lot with the young people. There's this competitiveness, even when it comes to the academics. And whilst some competitiveness is obviously good and it acts as a motivator, it's also very individualized. And I think even considering studying, it can be very isolating. You know, if we encourage this teamwork and thinking critically about the situations that are faced, it will help a lot in the system. But I think it needs a big overhaul, and we need to look more at working closer together, linking with what we were saying earlier with the formal and the non-formal sectors.
Okay.
In fact, now Aimee mentioned extracurricular. At least we are also seeing a change in the school leaving certificates in the Form 5 levels, where extracurricular activities the young person the young student is involved in is giving a boost in the certificate. So the more you participate in voluntary work in non-formal education, this is awarded, like it's being rewarded in the school leaving certificate. Another aspect that I find interesting, but many young people don't, is the Systems of Knowledge project during post-secondary. Because you're laughing, because sometimes systems of knowledge is undervalued, especially the project part. Many young people see it as something that they have to be forced to do. Even MCA students now have their own community project hours. They have to do 20 hours. But it's very important that to appreciate that these opportunities are going to be resourceful even for their CV. I mean, the education is trying, the education system, but we are not valuing enough these learning opportunities during these academic subjects.
Okay.
Something I was thinking, Aimee, you were doing a project with boats, right? Because I
Yeah.
remember I had some placements. So I really liked that project because it's something totally different that we are not used to. So sorry for popping it up, but it's something I admired.
Yes, and it's got a lot of people talking simply for that, because we have this clash of the people who are focusing. So it's a boat restoration project, but again, the idea is that it's great if there's a workable boat at the end, obviously, but the idea is that the young people are using and practicing these everyday skills, you know, whilst gaining some manual skills also. But we always have this clash where some people are very critical of how the boat is coming along, you know, they don't do it like that, you should do it like this. But yeah, seeing the young people get involved, it's really nice. And it's also young people that you wouldn't expect to maybe get into the manual field, and they're challenging themselves and pushing themselves to communicate and take leadership, which is great.
Myself, I am part of the local council. I mean, I'm a councillor myself, but obviously I'm responsible for the youth sector. What comes in mind also is we have this skate ramp I'm from Zaytoun, and we are emphasizing that the upkeep and the maintenance of this skate ramp is the responsibility of the young people actually using it. And it's very interesting to see how they take care of it and see that I mean, it's always clean, and because we are appreciating their efforts, and the more we see their efforts, we try to embellish it more as a local council. So I mean, we're giving responsibility, and they are being rewarded for all this, for that it's their skate park, their area, their public space, and they tend to really take care of it and see that nothing happens, even misuse of it. I mean, they enforce that it's well kept. So yes, it's part of the empowerment process that we as youth workers all the time try to push sometimes. Yes, we push empowerment.
So, as Maltese, we're not just Maltese youths, we're also European youths as well. When looking at other European countries, are there any trends or ideas which we could possibly implement, which are relevant in Malta, that could possibly encourage more youth work, maybe?
This links actually with what Stephanie was just saying about the ramp. I think if we look at some other European countries, there is this belief in the youth that they have spaces for them, spaces to grow, spaces to be young people, and they're not seen as a nuisance, which I think is unfortunately often the case, not just in Malta, because you do see it in other places. The media doesn't always take kindly to young people, but in these countries, especially sort of the Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries, I will never forget that a few weeks ago I was visiting a library in Helsinki, and I'm not going to say changed my life, because that's very dramatic, but it made me feel really good as a youth worker. It was this really, really big library, but they had a whole floor which was dedicated to young people.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
And it was just, there were books, there were games, there was music, but they also had, which I found really interesting, like different machinery and tools and things that sort of the young people could go test out, try, learn how to use them. But it was this whole space specifically for young people, and it was a public library. Anyone could go there. There wasn't a fee, and there were so many young people in there, and it really inspired me, and it got me thinking, if we could have something like that in Malta. I know we have small places here and there, but lately, I don't know if you've been seeing on the news, there's in Bormla, there's this issue with the steps, that young people used to hang out there, and now there's some issues with it, with some establishments, and people didn't want the young people there. And I'm like, it's steps, we're pushing young people away from space after space, and they should push back. They need the space for them to grow and to explore who they are. And if we can't even give them, a set of steps to hang out with their friends, something needs to change. We need some space for them. We need to show that we trust them. And I think the ramp was the perfect example. You give them this thing, put it in their hands, like, look, you want to use it, take care of it. But we're trusting you to take care of it.
It was not easy though, because it's in the center of the community. So
Yeah.
we have many calls from the area neighborhood around it, because it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they are still here. But our main focus was to bring the young people inside the community. I mean, it's useless trying to put them in the outskirts. and they are part of the whole scenario. Aimee, I understand your feeling about these types of libraries. I've seen it also functioning in Sweden just a few weeks ago also. And I was quite surprised because usually we tend to see a library just quietness, and this was all lively young people meeting up, playing music, and the people that run the library, they told us we want a living library, and it was amazing. Even you can hire board games, Wii games, Nintendo, and PS4. So it was something out of the normal for us because we are pretty used to a certain type of libraries. Like we were saying, yes, in fact, these opportunities that we can travel and see what other countries are doing are enlightening us sort of to see what we can do, but sometimes it's not easy to change the mentality, and that is one of our biggest challenges to change mentalities. But we don't quit. I mean, we can always try and try until something changes. Yep.
And I think linking with that, I mean, as youth workers, we are there, we're advocates for the young people that we work with, but looking at other countries and maybe wishful thinking, I don't know, but I would like to see, and I want to see the young people in Malta being more politically active. I mean, I know there's a small pocket of young people that are getting slowly more active, which is great to see. But the amount of young people that I speak to, and either they'll say, no, I'm not discussing politics, or I have this idea, but it goes against my family's political beliefs, so I can't talk about it. You know, if young people want change, we are obviously there to advocate for them and to support them, but it needs to come from the young people, which is why podcasts like this, hopefully it can make that small dent. You know, it's really young people at the forefront of it, with us just sort of background noise helping to advocate for them. But we're really at a crucial point, and I think they have a good chance to step out. But again, I think it all links with the critical thinking, with gaining that independence, you know, with everything we've talked about so far. It's all linked. But I would love to see them becoming more engaged in their, not even on a wider level, just a local level. You know, if there's something that is irritating them or annoying them, or they want to see some small change, you know, they have that power and they can use it, but it's harnessing that power.
Yeah.
Moving on to some of my final questions. If you could make any suggestions to policymakers, what critical recommendations would you make that to be done in Malta?
Not just using the young people for their vote, first of all, because it's very, very important. Actually, I've been following also this critical discussions about the 16-year-olds that are able to become mayors. I mean, I am a youth worker, so obviously, I mean, I think maturity does not depend on the age of the person that is contesting. I find 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds also, they are very vociferous about what's going on in the community and what they need, what changes they would like to see. So, I mean, okay, it's a huge responsibility being a mayor, but I mean, their opinions are very much interesting to note. So yes, that would be my first idea about policymakers and their actual vis-a-vis the young people. Obviously, the policymakers also need to cater for their needs, because sometimes we tend to I'm saying we because I am also a policymaker on the local scenario, on the local level. Obviously, I see it from a perspective also that young people are to be involved But there are many other local councils, for example, that they don't even appreciate and they don't acknowledge that young people are involved in the local politics. So yes, that's very important. I remember once about 20 years ago, because I've been involved in the local council for 21 years now. I remember the mayor telling me, because you always side with the young people. I mean, I am a youth worker, so my first opinion is going to be siding with the young people and see what they actually need, and we try to cater for them, not what I need. So yes, the policymakers need to think of like a young person also.
I completely agree with you. And just linking with that, I mean, we've mentioned a lot on the education and the spaces. So those are the two that I would look at. That the education system is something it's always spoken about, and it's a very hot topic. But really and truly, if we want to support our young people, to get them out into society and as prepared as much as possible. I mean, you can never be fully prepared. That's the joy of life. But to support them as best we can, the system needs to be more inclusive to the different learners and the different reality. You know, the world has changed a lot these few years. There's a lot of different realities that we need to be thinking about. And it links with, you know, we have mental health, sky high levels, and this is all linked. So if we want to take care of our young people, something needs to change. And talking about the recreational spaces, open spaces, if we can have them outside, wonderful. Again, another hot topic in Malta, I know. But the young people need to know that we trust them, that we believe in them, and to give them that space to be themselves, to find out who they are and what they want in life, which ultimately, if we're supporting them and giving them, you know, that space, it will benefit them, but it's going to benefit society. You know, everyone is going to benefit from it.
Coming to entertainment, I mean, they don't have anywhere. I mean, under 17-year-olds, they don't have anywhere to spend their leisure, their free time, except from, I mean, that's why they meet up in Valletta, because it's a central place. They can just get a bus and get there with no expenses, and they can meet up and socialize with their friends. I mean, ages ago we had Parcheville. I mean, now it's over 17 years, and the environment has really changed there. So yes, it's important that we need to cater for them where to meet, and low cost also, because that's also an important, because even if you go to a cinema, for example, or a game, everything is high costing to these young people. So the policymakers need to encapsulate everything and keep these in mind. So maybe someday we'll see that they can meet up in a safe environment, obviously, and where they can. I mean, if you have a low budget, you can also entertain. I mean, not entertain. Have your free time spending with your friends.
Okay. As a young person, I appreciate hearing these things, you know. So to conclude, what do you have any final words of advice that you'd like to give to the youths of Malta?
From my end, I would say go and explore the world, learn, get out there, make mistakes, fail, and learn from those failures. It's okay to fail and to learn from it. But most of all, just be kind, because our communities can always use more kindness.
Yep, agree. Like Aimee, I emphasize a lot on Erasmus opportunities, because they are widening our horizons. Even me, as a mature person, I still try to get involved into Erasmus. because it gives me new learning opportunities all the time. And that's why I promote it. And in fact, I tell the parents mainly, once you pop, you can't stop. Once you had an experience in these types of projects, in these type of exchanges, the young people would never want to stop experiencing them. Yes, we have good young people in Malta, and we have lots of young people that are actually involved in voluntary work, but they are not being appraised for all they do. So it's very important to appreciate all the hard work that young people do in so many different scenarios, in animal awareness, in youth organizations, in church organizations also. So yes, it's very important to appraise, because they appreciate that someone is actually appreciating what they are doing.
Okay. That was my last question. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
valuable insights and
Thank you.
for joining me. Yeah.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching our podcast. We hope you found it fruitful. So, what are we going to do with these podcasts?
On the 11th of May at the Valletta Design Cluster, our young people will be sharing the results of these podcasts and the research around the project to our guests, which will include MEPs and MEP candidates of the upcoming election.
Join us on the 11th of May at the Valletta Design Cluster by registering through the link on this post or by contacting us on info@ymcamalta.org.
See you there.